Tea is one of the most influential beverages in human history. Today, billions of people drink tea daily, but its journey from an ancient Chinese discovery to a global cultural phenomenon is a remarkable story of trade, empire, innovation, and social change. The history of tea begins nearly 5,000 years ago in ancient China. According to legend, tea was discovered in 2737 BCE by the Chinese Emperor Shennong when leaves from a wild tea plant accidentally fell into a pot of boiling water. Whether the story is true or not, historical evidence shows that tea was consumed in China long before it spread to the rest of the world. During the Tang and Song dynasties, tea became deeply embedded in Chinese society, influencing art, literature, religion, and commerce. Buddhist monks drank tea to stay alert during meditation, while scholars developed elaborate tea ceremonies. By the 16th century, merchants and travelers carried tea beyond China's borders, introducing it to Japan, Central Asia, and eventually Europe. At first, tea was a rare luxury, enjoyed only by aristocrats and wealthy merchants, but its popularity grew rapidly as trade routes expanded across continents. The arrival of tea in Europe during the 17th century transformed both European society and global commerce. Portuguese and Dutch traders were among the first Europeans to import tea from China, but it was in Britain that tea found its most enthusiastic audience. Tea entered England in the mid-1600s and soon became fashionable among the upper classes. The marriage of King Charles II to the Portuguese princess Catherine of Braganza helped popularize tea at the royal court, because Catherine was an avid tea drinker. As demand increased, tea houses appeared throughout London, serving as centers of social and intellectual life. Initially expensive due to high import costs, tea gradually became more affordable and spread among all levels of society. By the 18th century, tea drinking had become a defining feature of British culture. The famous tradition of afternoon tea, though developed later in the 19th century, reflected the beverage's growing importance in everyday British life. Tea was no longer merely a drink. It had become a symbol of refinement, hospitality, and national identity.
The relationship between tea and the British Empire is one of the most significant examples of how a simple commodity can shape world history. Britain's growing appetite for tea created an enormous demand for Chinese imports. However, China had little interest in British goods and required payment in silver, creating a trade imbalance that worried British merchants and policymakers. To solve this problem, the East India Company began exporting opium from India into China. This controversial trade led to widespread addiction in China and ultimately sparked the First Opium War and the Second Opium War. These conflicts strengthened British influence in East Asia and secured favorable trading conditions for British merchants. At the same time, Britain sought to reduce its dependence on Chinese tea by cultivating tea within its own empire. In the 19th century, British botanists and administrators successfully established large tea plantations in regions such as Assam and Sri Lanka. Millions of workers labored on these plantations, producing vast quantities of tea that could be exported throughout the empire. As a result, tea became not only a beloved beverage, but also a foundation of imperial economics, connecting colonies, trade networks, shipping routes, and financial markets across the globe. The expansion of tea cultivation under British rule profoundly affected societies in Asia and beyond. In India, British plantation owners transformed large areas of land into commercial tea estates. Railways, roads, and ports were developed to support the tea trade, linking remote regions to global markets. Although tea production generated economic growth, it also involved difficult working conditions and social inequalities. Plantation laborers often endured long hours, low wages, and limited rights. Nevertheless, tea became an important part of local economies and eventually of Indian culture itself. Similarly, in Ceylon, modern Sri Lanka, tea replaced coffee after a plant disease devastated coffee plantations in the late 19th century. Ceylon tea soon gained an international reputation for quality and became one of the colony's most valuable exports. Throughout the British Empire, tea symbolized both opportunity and exploitation. It generated enormous profits for merchants and governments, while reshaping landscapes, labor systems, and cultural practices.
By the beginning of the 20th century, tea was one of the world's most traded commodities, linking consumers in.
The modern tea industry reflects both continuity and change. Today, major tea producing countries include China, India, Kenya, Sri Lanka, and Turkey. Tea remains deeply woven into cultural traditions around the world, from British afternoon tea and Indian chai to Japanese tea ceremonies and Moroccan mint tea. At the same time, consumer preferences have evolved significantly. Specialty teas, organic teas, herbal infusions, and wellness-focused beverages have become increasingly popular. Companies experiment with new flavors, sustainable farming methods, and environmentally friendly packaging to meet changing consumer expectations. Technology has also transformed production, allowing growers to improve quality control, increase efficiency, and monitor environmental conditions more effectively. Despite competition from coffee, soft drinks, and energy beverages, tea remains one of the most widely consumed drinks on Earth, demonstrating its extraordinary resilience and adaptability across centuries and cultures. Looking toward the future, tea is likely to continue evolving in response to technological, environmental, and social trends.
The future of tea is expected to be shaped by technology, sustainability, and changing consumer preferences. As climate change affects traditional tea-growing regions, scientists and agricultural experts are developing more resilient tea plants that can withstand higher temperatures, droughts, and unpredictable weather conditions. This will help ensure that tea production remains stable in the coming decades. Technology will also transform tea farming. Artificial intelligence, drones, and smart sensors may be used to monitor tea plantations, optimize irrigation, detect plant diseases, and improve harvest quality. These innovations can increase efficiency while reducing environmental impact. Consumers are becoming more health conscious, creating demand for functional teas that offer additional benefits, such as improved immunity, better digestion, stress relief, and enhanced mental focus. Personalized tea blends tailored to individual health needs and tastes may become increasingly common. Companies may use data and biotechnology to create customized tea experiences for customers.